So good afternoon. Look, 5 years ago when I was running for office, and I was knocking on doors for a couple of years, there weren't a lot of people who took me seriously. In fact, maybe some people don't today, but a lot of people didn't take me seriously. I knocked on doors. I didn't have any money. I just had good friends and people around me who stood by me as I was running for office, as I was running for Alderman. And I'm telling you all this is because for those of you who you work for the Reader, if you've been reading the Reader, you know that Ben Jarofsky gave me some print in a time when no one else in the city would give me any time or take my campaign seriously in any way at all, any serious way at all. And over the years, we've had our jousting sessions, right? In some ways I've disappointed him, in some ways I've made him happy. But the point is, he took a chance on covering a campaign that was a nobody. That was a nobody, and the Reader and Ben Jarofsky said, you know what, let's give him some print, let's give his campaign some time, let's at least hear what he has to say. Doesn't mean I agree, but at least hear what he has to say. And he did. And you know, my campaign was a big surprise in 2011. And I say this because the Reader, for decades, just like the Shackman lawsuit ended patronage in many ways in the city of Chicago, the Chicago Reader has shed light on issues such as tax increment financing, equity, race relations in Chicago in a way that no other publication has. And so when I think about two big accomplishments in the city of Chicago and try to make the city a better place, you look at Shackman as a lawsuit to take patronage out of the system, and then you look at Ben Jarofsky, Mick Dumke, and all of you who've been shedding light on things that just need to be changed, social justice issues. And so for that I wanted to say thank you, and if you can give yourself a round of applause. As a former nobody, I wanted to also say that one of the things that we struggle with in politics is this idea that if you're wealthy, you know what you're doing. That if you're wealthy, you're competent. That if you're wealthy in the private sector, or if you're wealthy at one thing, and you've made a lot of money, that somehow you know better than the rest of us on how to run a business, how to run government, how to deliver services. And the thing is, look, we can have our disputes about capitalism, whether it's a good or bad thing, but wealth should be celebrated, it just shouldn't be worshipped. And that is the problem that I see over and over again in this country, is that we've come to a place where we worship wealth in a way that we believe that if you're wealthy, you must know more than the next person, that you must know more than a teacher, must know more than a journalist. And the thing is, without a free press, without a real press, one that isn't muzzled, one that has the license to cover whatever it is that they want to cover, take on people like me, call me out on my stuff when I need to be called out, joust with politicians. Without any of that, we're not a free society. And without a free society, and without a staff that is actually paid properly, deserves a fair contract, deserves the benefits that they have earned, none of this matters, none of this exists. So I wanted to just say thank you for sticking with it. Thank you for giving someone like me a chance 5 years ago, giving me some time in the paper. And now I hope that I can also return that favor to you and stand with you in solidarity as you guys fight for a fair contract. Thank you so much.
Listen, if you don't have the Chicago Reader, you don't have somebody pushing for social justice issues. If you don't have the Chicago Reader, you don't have somebody pushing for someone like Alderman Pawar. If you don't have the Chicago Reader, you can't move things like sick time and other ordinances, the minimum wage forward in the city of Chicago. So let's give an applause not just for the Chicago Reader, but for folks who are social justice champions that the Chicago Reader supports. Come on, let's hear it. We're going to listen to some music for a little bit, bring back some more speakers, we're going to march. But here's something that I want you to know before we start doing that. Like I said, we represent 300 unions that represent 500,000 workers. The Chicago Reader employees have not had a raise in 10 years. the commitment that you have from the Chicago Federation of Labor is we are going to be here fighting for that raise, to stand up for the people who work at the Reader and make sure that the people who own this paper are accountable to you. Are you guys with me? Are you ready to fight? You ready to raise hell? John Langford's going to start playing some music. Let's show him a little hell right now.
Thanks so much. I was lucky enough to play on the steps of the Wisconsin Capitol a few years ago when they occupied it. It was a much worse day than this. It was actually sub-zero and it was very, very cold, and all the stuff was going off in Egypt at the same time in Tahrir Square. And I heard this rumor that they'd sent, the Egyptians had sent pizzas to support the people in Wisconsin. They'd actually sent money, not pizzas, but they sent money to buy pizzas for all the people who occupied the Capitol in Madison. It was, so I thought about this song which Joe Strummer wrote. It's kind of like a prediction of the future. It's off one of his post-Clash albums. It's called X-Ray Style. But the chorus is, does anybody feel the distance to the Nile? And that day, you know, munching on Egyptian-funded pizza, it seemed like, you know, the revolution was here. But I'll sing this for Joe Strummer. I see the millions walk a city mile, the ticker tape kings and the juveniles. Does anybody know which way to go? Will anybody come back on the CB radio? I've been counting the stars and the telegraph poles, 'cause each one represents the hopes of a soul. You think that God wouldn't be so hard when you see all the little children running in the backyard on a Mississippi good with a sub-Saharan song, while somebody is wailing in the financial district sun. Can anybody feel the distance to the Nile? Well, I wanna live, I wanna dance a while, I wanna make like Eddie on my rockabilly train. I gotta beat out the blues with my ball and chain. You can't pull a hold up with a bebop gun. There's people living now, they ain't got no heart, they never had none, and now down on the border they crawl all the way just to get a clip of living with a clean all spray. Can anybody feel the distance to the Nile? Well, I wanna live, I wanna dance a while. You can't pull a hold up with a bebop gun. There's people living now, they ain't got no heart, they never had none, and there's a payphone ringing out on Murder Mile, and a sucker who picks up gets his number dialed, and all the sparkling water that ever flowed will never wash down this town so clean that it glows. And I need to see with an X-ray style. Yeah, I need some rock art that don't come in a vial. Can anybody feel the distance to the Nile? I wanna live, I wanna dance a while. Thanks very much. Good luck.